What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Dr. Black. Got an interesting call this morning from my parents. They have discovered YouTube and some of my videos. And my mother raised a very, very important question. She said, in your video, my mother saying to me, in your video, you were speaking about women having the right to be as promiscuous as men, and that women need to understand that they can go out and have sex with whoever they want, whenever they want, if they choose. It's their right. And my mother said to me, what advice would you give to a young lady who says, hey, I tried what you said. I exercised my freedom to be as promiscuous as I want to be, but this guy, he broke my heart. He hurt my feelings. He's left me now that I've given him sex, and I'm brokenhearted. I feel bad. I regret the decision I made. And I thought about it, and I wanted to share with you all my answer to that question because I think it's an important question. It was kind of strange at first, right? Because my mother is a bit old-fashioned, understandably. She's been married for 45 years, 46 years, maybe 45 years. She's in her 60s. And at the time that she got married, she wasn't raised with the idea that of women's rights and equality, especially as far as sex. In her time, back in the 60s, women were raised, especially in the conservative Christian community, women were raised to just be parents, to be mothers. Later on in the 80s, women started to, be allowed by their husbands, by the community, to go out and work in a way that their husbands saw fit and contribute financially. But it was always a male-led endeavor. It was always get married, follow your man, do as God would say, do as the church would say, whatever other chauvinistic nonsense that they had back in that time. And so from my mom's perspective, if women do have, if she could even accept that women do have the sexual rights to behave, a bachelorette is equal to a bachelor, she still can't grasp that women understand the risk involved with being a bachelorette, with being promiscuous, with being responsible for your sexuality and your activities, your sexual activities. And so I want to say to everyone out there that my position is not to tell people to have sex. That's not what I'm about. I don't care if you have sex. It's irrelevant to me. My position is that if you choose to have sex, be responsible. Remember, we said in my previous videos, personal responsibility is where it starts. Remember, one of my favorite sayings is 99% to the solutions to the problems in your life start with self. So if you are the person responsible for yourself and you get to decide who you have sex with, when you have sex, and how often you have sex, man or woman, if you're a woman discovering this new freedom, this new power, then let me be the one to tell you that comes with responsibilities. And you have to be responsible for the consequences of how you conduct your sex life. It's kind of strange. It should go without saying. Men know this inherently. And it should go without saying that it goes for you ladies who are exercising your rights. All of us, every human being who exercises their rights, are responsible for the consequences. We are all responsible for the consequences of our actions. If you're a modern woman and you agree with me that women have the right to be as promiscuous as they want and to have as many partners as they want, then you also have to accept that you have the consequences of what becomes of that. Now, my parents understandably are saying, hey, it's a different time. If you're promiscuous in the 2000s or 2020s, you have a far higher risk of catching an STD than we did back in the 60s. And that makes perfect sense. Those of us who are alive in the 80s, who made it through the 80s, when AIDS was on the rise, it was a horrifying revelation of how dangerous STDs really are. And STDs in today's day and age is far more concerned, life-threatening STDs compared to the 60s. But that is part of your responsibility. That's not something unique to women. Women aren't the only ones who are at risk of STDs if they're promiscuous. So I was explaining to my mother that the standard that has been set by society for 100,000 years is that you can be a bachelor, a male, and you can sow your royal oats. You can go out there and have sex with whoever you want, whenever you want, as much as you want. That standard is now being adopted by women, and I want to promote that. I want to say to society that the standard is already set, that if you're single, you're not unmarried, you can have sex with whoever you want, whenever you want. That has to include women. It can't be women are the only ones who can't go out and be promiscuous. Women are the only ones who can't exercise their rights for sexuality, but men can. I refuse to accept that. I don't do double standards, as you fully well know. That being said, bachelors and bachelorettes can exercise their rights to have sex with whomever they want, whenever they want, and we all have to suffer the consequences for our actions. I thought that goes without saying, but apparently it doesn't. And shout out to anybody in my audience who is a little older or who comes from a conservative background who haven't thought about it this way. I'm happy to explain. I'm happy to elaborate. I'm happy to expand on the point. Each of us are responsible for our actions, just like at school, just like at work. You know, my book is about how we combine the romance and work relationships, and we're using the best of the business structures and transfer them over to our romantic structures. So I'm happy to say that just like at work, you're responsible for your actions, responsible for your career, right? We don't have to tell women, hey, if you go to work, you're responsible for getting a promotion. You're responsible for meeting the qualifications to get a promotion. You're responsible for, speaking up on your behalf to get a promotion, to get the benefits that you need. You are responsible for that. Your husband is not going to come to your interview. Your boyfriend is not going to show up and tell your boss why you should get a raise. Your dad and mom aren't the ones who are going to giving you the interview and say, well, you're a good person, even if you didn't do well. You are responsible for your own actions. You're responsible for all of your own actions in every aspect of your life. The idea that a man is supposed to come along and make good decisions for you is absurd. That's part of the reason I have this page. Because women, some unfortunate women, are still out there thinking that men are responsible to give them the answers to the test. It's not true. Each of us are responsible for finding those answers. Each of us are responsible for finding the answers directly or finding someone who can give us the right answers. And it can't be that it's some magical thing out there for men to do on women's behalf. Ladies, you're responsible. We are all responsible for ourselves, and we have to live that day. We have to live that way. We have to behave that way. So in conclusion, if you're a young person or any person, hell, I recently was reading and studying from my book. Baby boomers are of the largest group of people getting divorced and, more importantly, getting remarried. So I've already said that baby boomers have led us to the point where we have a society that's over 50% divorce rate. That's specifically the baby boomers have led us to that. And they can't look down on any of the younger groups and say, why are you guys getting divorced? They're the ones who led us to this point. And a lot of that is because of the lies of what makes a healthy, successful relationship. My book is about how do we update the concepts of what it takes to have a healthy relationship, because clearly what we're doing now isn't working. Also, in addition to that, until you get married, before you get married, after you get married, every point of your life, you are responsible for your actions. No one is supposed to come save you from your actions. No one is supposed to make good decisions while you're trying to make bad ones. Each of us, men, women, children, and other, we're all responsible for our own actions. And we need to conduct ourselves like that. Anytime we exercise our rights, we also need to be prepared for the consequences that come from that. I want to support women's rights to do what men are already doing. I want there to be standards that are equal for everyone. I don't want double standards. And so we already know that men are allowed, it's acceptable in society for men to be promiscuous, to be bachelors, to enjoy sex with many partners, and that has to be the same for women. It cannot be any different, because we're really thinking about heterosexual sex, right? So if men are having sex with women and the men are allowed to do that, clearly women have to be allowed to have sex with men. It can't just be one way. Whoever is taking any action has to be responsible for the actions they're taking. And all of us, every single one of us. You have to think about your actions, you have to think about the consequences, and you have to take actions that you first can be proud of, and then other people who care about you can also be proud of. I hope I made that clear. I hope this video helps. I hope it gives you something to think about. And we'll talk again soon. One love.